But I said in my instructor feedback that of all the courses that I've done over the years, and I really have done probably more than I can count, I found the way that the blueprint was delivered was very different from anything else I'd ever experienced. And it's quite odd because I've attended courses face-to-face with an instructor over days, sometimes even over weeks. And I was very surprised at how I could feel even more engaged with the instructors, despite them being thousands of miles away and never literally meeting face-to-face, let alone shaking hands, than I've ever felt when I've actually been in a room with a face-to-face with the instructor and other candidates.
All right. Good afternoon. I am Andrea Wilson, and I am here with Nathan Relevy. We are here to kind of talk about you and your experience with the blueprint. Hear that you are a new ACBA member, right? Exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very
New
much.
to the community, right? So spring 2023, you're fresh in the club. Glad to have you and welcome. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sweet. So I hear that you founded a business and you've got a lot of things going on. You're in the software industry, and I'd like you to talk about what it is that you do. So tell us a little bit about what you do and where you're from.
Sure. Okay. So I actually have an accounting background from some years ago, but moved into technology soon after. And for the last 16 years, I've been running my business in the UK. We provide bespoke software solutions to very diverse businesses who much prefer sort of their own sort of tailor-made setup rather than getting something off the shelf. I do have a team which includes developers, testers, project managers, and analysts as well. And although I do have a lot of experience, both development and analysis, I felt there was value in attending partaking in the blueprint program in order to more formalize sort of my my skills in business analysis, and also I guess generally to see if there were better practices that perhaps I'm missing out on.
Wow, that's awesome. So as a business owner, I expect folks will go, okay, what's going on here? Why are we looking at this foundational stuff? Why are we looking at the business analysis blueprint? And you gave us a taste there. As a developer, having done analysis before, you were looking for some way to kind of make sure you were on the right path. There were some formal skills that you needed to either gain or hone. And so you visited with us and you stuck through the program. That's exciting. That's what you were looking to achieve. What motivated you to go for ACBA as opposed to any other certification, or what brought you here?
Okay, so first of all, I'm always looking to broaden my knowledge, broaden my skills. In the IT sector, especially as things change very frequently, very rapidly, it's important sort of not to rest on one's laurels, but also to see if there are other sort of technologies, other skills, other methodologies. So I stumbled across the Bridging the Gap, the ACBA. I did some research and I looked at other business analysis programs. In particular, I looked at other accredited courses with the Institute of International Business Analysts. And the reason why I chose the blueprint provided by Bridging the Gap was because I rather liked the way that they were teaching it in an applied method rather than just teaching a load of theory and then expect you to do an exam. Sort of, I think a lot of qualifications that are passed based on examinations, they lack the essential sort of experiential sort of skills, as well as access to instructors that really have hands-on experience. So that's what attracted me to it.
Sweet. All right. So you've kind of gone over into your experience in the program, and I really want to talk about some of that. Was there any particular module of the program that stuck out for you?
To be honest with you, of all of the 4 modules, I felt each of them brought a refreshing, sort of different perspectives to the obviously the whole business role of business analysis. So on the one hand, I like the fact that they were all varied, and they touched on different aspects. And the interesting thing is that a run-of-the-mill business analyst probably wouldn't be involved with every aspect of the modules. Excuse me, the modules that were taught in the blueprint course. Excuse me. So, for example, in a large company, a business analyst would be one of a number of a larger team. Whereas in a smaller company, I suppose sort of the business analysts sort of may have to get their hands sort of dirty with a lot of the things that you've learned. But I'm a firm believer that even if you're not going to do something yourself, it's very useful to have an awareness of what needs to be done, so that when you do go in and talk or meet with the people who are actually going to do those things, whether it's the wireframe designers or sort of the technical database of developers, that number one, you can understand sort of their lingo, if I can use that expression, because in my experience, skilled professionals appreciate sort of your interactions much more if you have an appreciation sort of for what they do, rather than sort of being totally ignorant of their area.
I love that. So we talk about overlap, right? You touched on developer, we talked on analysis, we even talked about owner, founder of the company, right? So having that ability to communicate across those different roles really brings it together and builds some trust. I think one of the things we covered in multiple parts of this was having that ability to build relationships, and that's really important. So thank you for pointing that out, that being able to communicate and overlap with your skill set really is helpful in building that trust and helping your stakeholders to communicate with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Were there any challenges you faced during the process of going through your ACBA?
Yes. And I'm very pleased that there were challenges, because if there weren't, then I clearly wasn't learning anything. Yes, it did challenge my thinking. I think on the one hand, those delegates or candidates who do embark on the course, they come at it from different perspectives. On the one hand, sort of they may already have the experience and they want to sort of get some formal accreditation or recognition or qualification for it. On the other hand, sort of at the other end of the spectrum, they may be coming at it very green, and maybe are plunged into a role where they need to do business analysis, and they're thinking, I don't have the requisite skills. Obviously, for me, I'm coming at it with somebody with experience. I've also done Prince 2 project management, and I've done various other courses over the years. But the point is that people can tend to become very staid in their thinking. And you continue doing things the same way as you've done them before, unless or until you find that they no longer work, or there's something better to do. And despite the experience that I have and the successes that I've had over the years, I still learned a lot of interesting perspectives and techniques from Bridging the Gap. And I found sort of that in some ways it challenged me, because I had to think differently about when it came to dealing with certain things, as opposed to sort of just learn afresh how to do something that I've never done before.
Sweet. That does place yourself in a new position for learning, doesn't it? That applying it is very different because as you walk through things and you go, okay, especially a seasoned person, okay, I know that already. I know that already. And then you have to apply it. You start thinking, okay, I know the message, but how do I apply the message? And that can be very challenging, especially from a seasoned person who has a way of doing things. Now you've got to rethink it, right? That was a bit of my experience too. I did go through the program and it was refreshing thinking that and then having that opportunity to work with instructors to work through that, I think is a great part of the program. I want to hear if you have any takeaways from your experience that you think would be helpful for anybody who's thinking about going through the program.
Sure. Yes, I do. I think looking again at those two different ends of the spectrum, for a seasoned professional, I think it's very important sort of that one approaches the program with an open mind, ready sort of to try different ways and different techniques to do things, and resist the temptation to say, "Oh, I'm going to do this sort of the way that I'm used to doing it." Because if you do, even if you do pass the program, you've still missed out on opportunities to learn sort of different techniques, which might possibly provide some improvements. Obviously, for someone green to the program, it's important that they really try and take in and embed the knowledge that's learned. I didn't find the program rushed on the one hand, but yet there was pressure, which is kind of quite an odd way to put it. What I mean by that is you were given. I like the way sort of the program was delivered in a piecemeal fashion, and I don't just mean the modules, but even within a module, it was actually done in a piecemeal way, which meant sort of that all candidates, whether they were seasoned or not, sort of couldn't go sort of any faster sort of than any of the other candidates, which meant that everybody was more or less going sort of at the same speed, with obviously some flexibility. But I would definitely say, in terms of takeaways, read through all the material. Obviously, watch all of the videos, look through all the material. Make sure sort of that you understand exactly what's being asked of you, because in that same skill so that you need to really make sure that you read and understand sort of the program is actually the same skill that you need when you're listening and meeting with clients and product owners. Because at the end of the day, if you don't listen to them, if you miss even some detail, later on down the line during the project, it's going to sort of to crop up as a gremlin that needs to be solved.
I love that. So you wore lots of hats, right? You've done Scrum Master, you've done some project management, you've done some development, and now you sit here at the top. You find the need not just to continue to grow, but to look deeper at business analysis. And you just hit the nail on the head, the listening, right? You've got to hear and you've got to find those gaps in knowledge. So I thank you for bringing that up. You also mentioned, I think I saw some instructor feedback and support through the program. I saw some really good feedback from you on that. So can we take a minute to discuss that? Maybe you talk about your experience there.
Yeah, sure. I said in my feedback that over the years I've done various courses, some formal, with accredited qualifications, some not so not formal or informal, if you like, because to me it's about learning as much as I can, because I never know what question I'm going to be asked by either a product owner or someone else, and obviously they could be coming at it from a different background. But I said in my instructor feedback that of all the courses that I've done over the years, and I really have done sort of probably more than I can count, I found the way that the blueprint was delivered was very different from anything else I'd ever experienced. and it's quite odd because I've attended courses face to face with an instructor over days, sometimes even over weeks, and I was very surprised how I could feel even more engaged with the instructors, despite them being thousands of miles away, and never literally meeting face to face, let alone shaking hands, than I've ever felt when I've actually been in a room with face to face with the instructor and other candidates. And the fact that I even attended instructor hours sometimes when I didn't need to, because I'd already sort of completed sort of the module or completed my work, I still found value sort of, and I did feel sort of that the other students were not only sort of supportive, but sort of they didn't hold back from asking questions. There was none of this feeling that I'm going to make myself look bad by asking a question sort of that might sort of be embarrassing. And I think that was largely because the instructors sort of, they really put the candidates at ease, and there was no kind of sort of pressure to sort of quickly rush things, and no question was sort of silly. I mean, there were some questions where instructors actually went on for quite a few minutes, so trying to explain something to the people who are asking the questions, to make sure that they got it. And I think that's not, I have to say, I think that's quite a rare quality in some kind of instructor-led course.
Thank you for sharing that. Like, we did kind of talk as a team, and we were so very excited to hear that, because that's one of the goals, to make everyone to feel comfortable. When we have those instructor hour moments, when we have those webinar moments, it's for us as a community to work together, right? They're working hours for us to feel comfortable and really discuss what's going on. And it's so awesome to see the learning between participants, because it's not just about the instructor. So I thought it was very valuable to hear that, and I'm appreciative of your sharing that today. Let's see. What would you say was an outcome for you personally of going through the ACBA program? And this is really valuable because others may look at this and say, well, wait a minute, you're a business owner, you founded a business, you have this reputation, you've done these tons of things, you've worn all these hats, lots of hats as different types of analysts. So operations analyst, you've done some support analyst, you've done the whole Scrum Master piece. What would you say is the outcome for you personally, coming from that standpoint?
Sure. Okay. So I would say that there were three main outcomes. Mm-hmm. Number one, increasingly from prospective clients, but also from existing clients who are claiming, certainly in the UK, a very generous research and development tax relief afforded for technological solutions that are innovative. The authorities are asking about the professional credentials of the experts involved on the project. So I felt a need, although I do have various accreditations and qualifications under my belt already, generally speaking, they're from quite some time ago. So I felt the need to get something, qualifications or accreditation that was more recent and up to date.
Okay. So
I've ticked that box. The second thing, as I've already mentioned, is to basically see if I'm missing a trick. See if the ways that I've been and the methods that I've been using and the techniques I've been using over the years perhaps may have been superseded with other methods, better methods. And I'm pleased to say that I think kind of sort of the 8 steps of plan that's covered within the program sort of really does provide a nice sort of structure around it. So I think in some ways it's expanded, consolidated, sort of it's added width, sort of breadth and depth to my own skill set. And the third reason is because, as I've mentioned, I have a number of staff, quite a few of whom have come from working with other companies, in some cases from large banks and large institutions. And I've seen that there's been a very disparate sort of level of expertise and skills within my staff, and I wanted to provide a level of consistency to my staff. So what I've sought to do from the training that I've had is to try and implement sort of the aspects of that within my own company, sort of amongst my other staff. And actually, if I may add a fourth one, I'm also encouraging sort of my clients as well, where even where there is no formal product owner designation within those clients, I'm encouraging my clients to actually sort of take on sort of that role of product owner and internal analyst, so that when they approach us for any changes, they've at least done some preparation initially, and they can have a more useful conversation sort of with me about those changes, because the more my clients understand about the value of business analysis, the more they can appreciate sort of what it can provide. And obviously, in some ways, that makes things easier and hopefully smoother for me.
Excellent. It's a growing community, right? And it's awesome because you can have those more meaningful and effective meetings and conversations, and have a more efficient use of your time. If you are thinking in terms of your process and evaluating your process, and you're able to come to the table and discuss things from that standpoint. Sweet. All right. So before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to say about your experience with Bridging the Gap? Or
Sure. Well, yeah, on a personal note, I think Laura, as well as being an absolute amazing person herself, again, I only know her from remote meetings that I've had and interactions, obviously, so over video. But I really have to applaud and congratulate Laura for assembling an absolutely outstanding team, and obviously sort of sort of each and every instructor, and even sort of the support staff kind of behind the scenes as well. You've done a tremendous job in obviously delivering the program, and I'm sure you will be able to maintain it. I would be very interested to hear about any other courses that you guys are doing. Well, I appreciate sort of it's not about sort of quantity; it's about sort of quality. I sincerely think that the way you actually train people sort of in the business analysis role is exactly, well, it's not just the way it needs to be done, but it's the best way ever. I think I said in my feedback that I felt a kind of a tinge of sadness when the program came to an end. It's almost like sort of I had such a good time interacting with everybody over the 5 months that, as odd as it sounds, I didn't want it to end. Although obviously I was pleased it came to an end. But you know what I mean. I'm going to miss the instructors, miss the team.
Well, you've done a good job of connecting, and we will definitely stay in touch. I love that. And you bring some excellent points out. We've seen you add comments about what you do, about your business. So we love the support that you're providing to Bridging the Gap. And those were very kind words. Laura is an amazing person, and the team works really well together. It's very cohesive, and we feel like we're a team with the participants when they're there. So thank you for reiterating that comment and expressing just what I feel about the group. So I appreciate that. Thank you again for coming to Bridging the Gap, for participating. I mean, really participating, because you were there. Again, you had finished your work, but you would still come to instructor hour You shared with other participants. You took information from other participants, and it just became kind of a family atmosphere. And your participation was very important in doing that. So welcome to the ACBA Club again. Thank you for visiting with us, and thank you for taking the time to speak with me this evening.
Well, it was a real pleasure. Thank you very much, Andrea.
Awesome. Thank you so much.